Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Abba honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquat that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick lesson. And for today's lesson, I'm going to be going through some of the writings of King James, right? And I have this book with me called The Negro Question Part 6. And, so far it's going pretty good. And it covers a lot of the history, inside of what a lot of Israelites were doing during the time of the Dark Ages, right? During those 1,000 years period that's mentioned in Revelation 20. As a matter of fact, let's open up with that. Oh, Salakia. Okay, this is Revelation chapter 20, start of verse 1, and this reads, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having a key to the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand," right? And that bottomless pit represents Europe, because there is nothing that actually grows there. A lot of these countries, like European nations, have to import lots of natural resources from, especially from you tribe lands, like so in the Caribbean, from Africa, from South America, Central America, so on and so forth, to actually build up their nation and their kingdom, the gold, the silver, sugarcane, crops, to actually, increase and, jumpstart their economy, right? It's a barren land. It doesn't, there's something that grows there, right? And it says, verse 2, "He laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years," right? And that devil, it represents Esau, because there was a time he was ruling during the time of that fourth beast, which is Rome. We're listed in Daniel chapter 7, verse 7, right? And during Rome began to decline, and eventually there were Israelites who took over as Caesars, and Rome fell in approximately about 476. So this is the 1,000 years it's referring to, right? And eventually Esau began to actually make his quote unquote comeback, right? And cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more. And that was a time when you saw a lot of images of so-called black people ruling in different countries, right? And I'm going to get into that in a bit. You had France, you had England, Scotland, Ireland, even like Eastern European nations, like Russia and some of the Balkan states today, Germany, right? I've done a couple lessons on this, but right. So and this is where he was. This is where he began to deceive the nations, right? Because after that little season began, which we're in that little season right now, he began to deface the images, the dark images of of the Most High, Yahweh Shai, and the angels through a process known as iconoclasm, right? Which means destroyer of images, right? Verse 3, I want to read this again. "And he cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, until the 1,000 years be fulfilled. And after he should be loosed a little season." And that little season began around the time of the Renaissance up until now, right? Because there is this whole covering cast that is placed upon, what Yahweh Shai looks like, so-called Jesus Christ, and what the angels look like, and who the Israelites actually really are, right? So there's a whole covering cast all over people, right? Because people believe when they go to church, they see and they think that Yahweh Shai is a so-called white person. The angels are so-called white. Adam was so-called white. The people in the Bible, they didn't have melanin in their skin, right? So This goes into his deception, right? And he wasn't deceiving during those times of the Middle Ages because, you know, Israelites during that time of the Dark Ages were ruling in different European nations, right? So so let's get. As a matter of fact, I'll start here. So this is all gonna tie in, and it says the doctrines of the ancient church, universally accepted, universal general. This is the definition for the word Catholic in the etymology, right? So this is all gonna add in as I read. So I'm reading a quick chapter. So I'm just going to jump around, and it's known as King James VI of Scotland, the Basilica Doron, right? And it's titled From King James to Prince Charles. And for those who don't know, Prince Charles was one of the sons of King James, and he took over, I believe, after King James died. King James died around, I think it was 1625, right? And yes, this is the same King James where we use the King James Bible, right? So for those who don't know, let me just get this as edification. What is the Basilica Doron? Uh, I'm just gonna get into Wikipedia just for edification. And it says is a treatise of the government written by King James VI of Scotland, who later became who would later also become King James I of England in 1599, right? So below here, just a little background, it says it means Basilicon Doron means royal gift in ancient Greek and was written in the form of a private letter to King James's eldest son, Henry, Duke of Rothesay, right, who died in 1612. After Henry's death, James gave it to his second son Charles, born in 1600. Later, King Charles I, 7 copies were printed in Edinburgh in 1599, and it was republished in London in 1603, and it sold in the thousands, right? So this is like a, kind of like how a father passes on, like, I guess some information to your son, after you pass, which is very, very interesting. As a matter of fact, I have a precept on that. Let me just get this quick precept, if I may. Right, it's kind of like I guess a like a small inheritance, essentially, if you really think of it. This is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, and it reads, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Right, so he's kind of instructing him the ways of how to carry on that legacy, after King James actually, passes, right? So let's actually get the account in the in his book. So I'm going to read a couple quotes, and it says, so this is actually the words that he said, and it says, "And therefore I would not have you to pray with the papists to be preserved from death." On page 17 of the Basilica Doron, King James tells the young prince to not even pray with the papists or Catholics, for it would mean sudden death. I placed this in the section of the book because it is a lead in one of the greatest dramas never reported in this generation. The Catholic Church and certain religious organizations have shouted to the roof top of their lungs that King James was a Catholic, but not according to his own words. He was not. Charles, the first king of Scotland, did the exact thing that his father warned about. King Charles married a Catholic princess from France named Queen Henrietta, and eventually it led to the beheading of King Charles, and the civil war broke out in England, right? So approximately around 16, it was around, I think it was the mid 1600s. You had they were known, the people who were following King Charles, they were known as Jacobites or covenant keepers, right? And they were, there was a civil war broke out between them and Oliver Cromwell and his followers, right? And so I just thought this was a very interesting account, right? And this is a kind of a way to kind of instruct his son, but he realized that as I was reading this, it reminded me of something that Solomon did, right? So let me just get that account really quickly. Then I want to get the word papacy. As a matter of fact, let me get the word since I'm already here. What is the papacy? Okay, so papacy, it reads the office or authority of the Pope, right? So there is actually no evidence of a Pope in the scriptures. So let's get a scripture. Get two. Just bear with me on this. Okay, so this is Luke chapter 12, verse 2, and Yahweh Shai said, "For there is nothing covered that shall be not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known," right? So this is all information that's being made present and being made known through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because the Catholic Church has a number of people, and they're constantly like brainwashing, especially a lot of our people too, because they believe in this. They believe Yahweh Shai is a so-called white person, and they think it's for everybody, and so on and so forth. Christmas and Easter and all this kind of stuff, right? Let's get, what was the other? Okay, so what happened to King Charles? I just thought it was very interesting, and it made me think of this quick account. Let's start at 4. Okay, so this is First Kings chapter 11, verse 4, and it reads, "For it came to pass when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord Yahweh, his power, and was as was the heart of David his father," right? So David was a man after the Most High's heart, right? David never actually worshipped the other gods. The only one of his transgressions was just taking on a woman that was already betrothed to another man, right? That already belonged to another man, I should say, right? But he never actually worshipped their gods, right? So this is something that quickly reminded me of King Charles's downfall, right? Because he married a Catholic princess, right? And verse 5, it reads, "For Solomon went after the Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites." I'm going to skip down to verse 7, and it reads, "Then did Solomon build a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab in the hill, is before Jerusalem for Molech, and the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives burn incense and sacrifice unto their gods. And the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai was very angry with Solomon, because his heart or his mind was turned away from the Lord, power of Israel, which had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him this thing, that he should not go after other gods," right? So the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is a jealous power, right? So this is what I just thought it was very, very to parallels the one of the things that King Charles had gone through, right? Because these are some of the things that the author lists here that the Catholics actually celebrate, which is Sunday Sabbath, Christmas, Easter, various a bunch of other feast days, because for example, Easter, it goes back to Ishtar, and it goes into the worship of sex and fertility, and worshiping female genitalia, and spring equinox, and rabbits and stuff like that. Like, a lot of our people don't actually take into account, what is a rabbit, you know, have to do with the Bible, right? You know, rabbits are just animals that, they just have sex a lot, right? So this is where all that comes back to. But that's all these pagan traditions are not biblical, right? um, Further on, it reads, this is one of his response to the Catholics. So it reads the following: not only having ever brought up in that religion which I presently profess, and so cannot be properly an heretic by their own doctrine, since I was never of their church, right? So this is something that King James actually said. He was actually never belonged to these people. He distanced himself from these people, right? And this is something that a lot of our people, do not know, right? Let's get this is Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1, and it reads, hear ye the word of the Lord. Yahweh speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, learn not the way of the heathen, but be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them, for the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, and work of the hands of the workman with the axe, Salakia, right? And these are some of the examples of the customs of the heathen that I mentioned earlier. The Christmas, the Easter, right? And these are some of the things that King James was kind of like advising his son, like, okay, don't follow these things, don't go after these ways, and so on and so forth, which is the same spirit that's on the prophets today, that's trying to tell our people to flee from these ways, right? Revelation 18, it says, come out of her, my people, right? And be not partaker of her plagues, to roughly paraphrase, right? So it, simply meaning to depart from those ways, depart from those habits, and so on and so forth, because they don't profit you anything, right? You're just making, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai more angry, by taking on these ways and taking on these customs and these philosophies, right? Let's see if there's any more. Okay, there is a little bit more, but I don't want to make the lesson too long, right? So I'm just going to, I'll probably make a part 2 to the lesson, but let's get another precept and we can close. Okay, this is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, and it reads, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places, right? And all of these things that we wrestle against are these, for example, the papacy, right? And this is an example of something that still has control over the minds of our people today, because our minds of our people are constantly engulfed in this Christianity, and giving money to these people, right? And and Christianity doesn't profit you anything, right? That's one of the things that that really it gets under my skin, because our people, they're giving a lot of this money and their time and their energy. They have a zeal, but not according to knowledge, right? As a matter of fact, I just want to end off with that quick precept. Bear with me on this. Okay, I'll start at verse 1. Isaiah 55, verse 1, and it reads, ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that hath no money, come ye, buy and eat, yea, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price, right? And this is how we do these things is, through these videos, being on the highways and byways, making these lessons so our people, their hopeful life can be built up, right? And have a more wisdom and more knowledge to keep them stable and get them familiar with their culture during these times, right? Verse 2, and this is the point I wanted to make about the people in the church. Wherefore do ye spend money for that which is not bread, right? And why are you spending money in these places for, right? It's not profiting you anything at all, right? Yahushua said, he's the bread of life, right? He that, roughly to paraphrase, he that eateth from me, will not hunger or thirst, right? But our people are stuck in these churches, and they spend most of the time and their money there, and they're drinking from a broken cistern, essentially, right? It reads, continuing on, and your labor which satisfieth not, hearken diligently unto me, and eat ye which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness, right? So only the elect would actually turn back to the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? And hearken diligently, right? Because wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times. Anyways, I didn't want to make this lesson too long, but Haratazah, this was edifying. I'm probably going to make a part 2 to this because I think there was a little bit more to cover. But anyways, as always, hopefully this was edifying, and I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakakadash. Honors the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.